Hello, Dr. Chinchure.
Hello, Vidula. How are you?
Hi, sir. I'm fine. I'm fine. So you will be sharing few slides during your talk.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Yes. Okay. So we'll just wait for 10 minutes more. Once we have more participants who log in, we will start with an introduction and then I'll let you share your screen.
Please. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Hello, Ramba.
Yes, ma'am.
Has your screen stopped rolling?
Um, it's rolling from my end.
Come back again just now. Yeah, now it started again. Hello, Ramba.
Yes, ma'am.
You can stop sharing. I'll just share my screen and
Sure.
we'll start with the event. Yeah,
Sure.
thanks. Is my screen visible, Ramba?
Yes, Vidula.
Hello?
See.
Yes, sir. Is it visible?
Yes, please. Yes.
Yeah, okay. With Dr. Chinchuri's permission, I think we can start the session. People will keep logging in, so my colleagues will take care of that. I'll just make a brief introduction to what is Venture Center, what is TechX, and then I will be introducing the speaker today. And then I will be handing it over to Dr. Chinchuri to take it further from there. So, good afternoon to all the participants, and welcome to this mini workshop on best practices in drafting of IP policy. Before we actually start with the event, I will just let you know what is Venture Center and what is TechX.in. These are the organizers of today's event. Venture Center, this is a not-for-profit Section 8 incorporated as Entrepreneurship Development Center. And we started operations on 10th of January 2007. So we've just completed 15 years in this field. And we've been hosted by CSR NCL, which is the first incubator in CSIR. We are approved by NST, TDB, and BIRAC, and we have been recognized by DSIR and DIPP. We are a CRIDAL accredited NPO, and we are eligible for all kind of CSIR funding. Venture Center till now has received many prestigious awards, few of which we have just highlighted here. One was in 2015, where Venture Center received the National Award for Technology Business Incubator. In 2018, we were awarded the Asian Incubator of the Year award. And in 2019, we received the National Entrepreneurship Award. Our mission, basically, Venture Center aims to nucleate and nurture technology and knowledge-based enterprises for India by leveraging the scientific and engineering competencies of the institutes in the Western zone or in our region. We are basically helping to promote inventive enterprises and spin-offs from R&D institutions. We are sector agnostic, but our strengths lie in science-based technologies. I'll briefly tell you about the organizer today. The event, the mini workshop has been organized by TechX.in. TechX.in, this is a resource center of Venture Center. And basically, TechX.in is focused on technology commercialization activities. So TechX.in is being supported by the National Biopharma Mission, and we are a recognized RTTO by BIRAC, DBT, Government of India. Our aim is to support technological commercialization journey and it relates to exchange and transactions which are related to any science or engineering based ideas. Under TechX.in, to achieve our goal to help innovators and technology commercialization entities transfer their technology and also give different kind of IP related support, TechX has come up with different services, and the headers are tech commercialization, policy, IP protection and decision support, and industry academia partnering. Under these categories, technology commercialization, basically we will be focused on marketing, tech transfer, deal structuring, agreements, valuation, and any kind of spin-off creation. For policies, IP protection and decision support, we help in technology protecting of your IP related to patents, trademarks, search and analytical support, any policy which an institute might require to support its R&D, for support for R&D organizations and for innovation management. And for Industria Academia partnering, it is basically related to tech scouting, open innovation, and facilitate Industria Academia technology partnerships and contact management. So with a brief introduction of what is a Venture Center and what is TechX focused on, I would now like to invite our eminent speaker for today, Dr. Anvir Chinchure. He is an innovation coach, growth strategist, and an IP specialist. Recently, his book, The New Age Organization, has been released, and this was just in the last month. So Dr. Chinsure is a renowned academician, a corporate strategist, and an innovation leader. He's an expert in formulation of corporate and governmental policies which influence innovation and research. As a part of organizational committees, Dr. Chinchure has helped formulate IP policies for Indian and foreign research organizations. He holds a PhD in physics and has an experience spanning of more than 25 years in R&D innovation, intellectual property, startup venture investment, policy making, social development, and teaching. Dr. Chinsure has worked with many global innovation thought leaders and Nobel laureates on projects of national and regional significance. He was a part of Indian and global research organizations and large multinational and Indian companies in diverse technology areas, driving innovation in technology, as well as leading intellectual property driven asset creations at different workplaces. He is credited with designing and implementing India's first 2-year residential and experimental MBA course on innovation and entrepreneurship at Symbiosis Institute of Business Management, SIBM, Pune. Currently, Dr. Chinsure is a chair professor of innovation and entrepreneurship at Symbiosis International Deemed University, Pune. So with this, I would now like to invite Dr. Chinsure to kindly share his screen and go forward with his talk. I'll just stop sharing my screen. Yeah.
So thank you, Vidula. So such a, it feels good to just to hold on. The Zoom is asking.
Yes.
Enter your password. I don't think so. It's not necessary. Yes.
Yeah, we can see your slides.
Yes, please. So let me just.
So by the time Dr. Chinsure is making full screen, a brief request to all the participants. Kindly stay on mute and you can type your questions in the chat box. At the end of the session, we can take up your questions and we can also unmute you if you would like to interact with Dr. Chinsure one-on-one.
Yes. So Vidula, once again, thank you very much. Very, very warm introduction. So really feels good, to receive such a warm welcome and introduction. So I'm so happy today, particularly today is the Sankrantri. I'm wishing everyone a very, very happy Sankrantri, happy Pongal. And in spite of, today is a holiday, it's a big celebration at home, and still I see such a good response for this session.
Yes.
And I must compliment you and the team for this. So let me also thank Dr. Premnath and of course Vidula and Vinita for making this session happen and inviting me and also convincing me. In fact, initially I was under the impression, or I was feeling that this particular session, which is on best practices of drafting IP policy, sometimes can be a little bit not very engaging. So I wanted to have some kind of a dialogue with all of you, understand your challenges, understand your needs, and understand your doubts so that I can share my insights and my experience. But instead of dialogue or a conversation with the participants, we decided to have a presentation and then Q&A session. So thanks to Venture Center for this great opportunity to share. And it's a unique topic, by the way. I keep giving talks on various topics, but I had never been invited to give a talk on how to draft IP policy, particularly for the university or academia. Particularly, of course, we can apply the same principles to corporates for the policy. So a quick experience. So almost now I'm, I started my research in 1991. So I'm just finished. I realized that I finished 3 decades of experience in research, technology, IP, innovation, strategy, policy, social development, entrepreneurship, and so on. So I started with my PhD research at the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research in low temperature physics. And then I had an honor and a privilege to work at the University of Leiden for my postdoctoral work. Then my first corporate job was at GE Global Research in Bangalore. I learned so much about how the research can get translated into technology and the technology into the products and services. So after GE, I worked as a co-founding team at Intellivate, which is an IT services company. Then later, after I think 1.5 years, this was acquired by CPA Global. Today, if you are driving from Noida to Greater Noida, in the middle on the right-hand side, you will see a big board, CPA Global. So that was a startup that I was part of in the IP services. Then I worked at Honeywell, Honeywell in IP team, and of course I was involved in multiple domains as a part of Honeywell. I was working with the chief of IP council, chief of innovation and technology, and also strategy. So that was gave me a broader experience about the entire value chain of this IP and the business. Later, my last corporate job was at Reliance. I was working at Reliance Innovation Leadership Center. I was reporting to Dr. Mashelkar, and that was a tremendous boost in terms of my learning how Indian company continues to grow. And as one of my efforts, I could start Reliance's IP team. I was leading IP team for a year or a year and a half before I handing over to my colleagues at Reliance and focusing on innovation. Then I got into education. I started innovation and entrepreneurship course, MBA course in Symbiosis. And then something very interesting happens. That is, I was invited by the World Bank to help our neighboring country, Bangladesh, to build their capacity for science, technology, and innovation. And as a part of this, I was international expert for IP and innovation. And that is the time I was, I hope you are able to see my small screen, but I will show you. I prepared 2 booklets. The first booklet was IP policy for universities, and the second one is I created another booklet, which is called Technology Transfer Office and what should be the manual, operational manual for the Technology Transfer Office. So this is where I got into a little bit into how do we create IP policy, and of course as a part of other organizations. So I'm writing a lot of policy papers at the national relevance and regional relevance. Then I have my own startup, Kivleap Academy, which is focused on how do we create this 21st century professionals and leaders, particularly in the context of 4th Industrial Revolution. And currently, I'm also associated with the Deshpande Foundation. So right now, I'm sitting in Hubli and delivering this session. So as Vidula said, recently I published a book, the book titled The New Age Organization and How Do We Navigate the kind of disruptions that are happening in the world and how do we lead in the 4th Industrial Revolution. And I'm very happy to share that I have a case study in the book on a startup started by Dr. Jayant Khandare, and which was incubated in the Venture Center. So the Venture Center's incubated company is part of this book, and I thought I should share about this, and this also demonstrates the kind of a contribution and impact Venture Center is making to science knowledge-based startups. So now let me come to the today's topic. So I'm going to have two broad topics or parts of my session. The first part, I will be speaking on why IP policy, particularly for academic institutions and universities. This is extremely important to understand the purpose, the context for writing or having IP policy within the organization. The second part would be, I will be mainly focused on then if this is so important to have IP policy, then what should be the content for the IP policy and what should be the structure design of the IP policy. So that is my second part of this session. So let me start with a video because I want to make sure that we understand the relevance of science, relevance of technology, relevance of innovation, and relevance of entrepreneurship, and in this entire value chain, the connect and importance of intellectual property. And then if I take this entire value chain and importance of IP, how does this can have a larger impact on the nation? So we know Taiwan, one of the now a developed nation, and how an institution, how a research institution can make such a huge impact on what Taiwan is today. So I wanted to make sure that we understand the importance of research institutions, importance of university, and its role on the economic and societal development. So we will hear or watch this video for I think 4 and 5 minutes. I think you will understand what is the role of research institutions in the economic development of a nation.
Dr. Chinsore, there is no volume which is audible for this
Payments
video.
and industrial services, and in the process, cultivating talent well-versed in multiple disciplines.
Yes, sir, now we can hear it.
Working in multidisciplinary technology innovation.
Yeah.
Major application domains.
I think we can, so it will help us to gauge.
Sorry, I muted here, and I think it stopped.
Yeah, that's why it went off. Yes. Yes, now it is audible.
The Industrial Technology Research Institute was founded in 1973. ITRI took the lead in the research and development of integrated circuits and then expanded to personal computers, innovative materials, optoelectronics, LED, machinery automation, and flexible electronic sectors, laying the foundation for emerging industries. ITRI has accumulated over 20,000 patents. These inventions are used in conjunction with venture capital platforms to assist in creating new opportunities for industries. Over its 40 years, ITRI has incubated more than 244 startups and spin-offs, including TSMC, UMC, TMC, and Epistar, helping to underpin Taiwan's industrial development. ITRI is enhancing systems, software, and services to promote multidisciplinary innovation, commercializing R&D achievements and industrial services, and in the process cultivating talent well-versed in multiple disciplines. ITRI is dedicated to forward-looking and multidisciplinary technology innovation in 3 major application domains. In the domain of smart living, ITRI continues to devote its efforts to smart endpoints and cloud services, next-generation communication, man-machine interface, as well as novel lighting applications, including flexible electronics and advanced display technology, semiconductor optoelectronics, 3D IC packaging, intelligent automation, high-value chemistry, and high-performance materials. All of these developments can be regarded as ITRI's smart technological answers to people's needs for living a wonderful life. In quality health, ITRI focuses on the development of innovative therapeutic biologics, combination materials and devices, and healthcare technologies. Research and development covers bioelectronics and imaging, biomarkers, orthopedic devices, botanical medicines, and rapid prototyping of medical devices, all with the goal of creating a high value-added biomedical technology industry, safeguarding and improving people's health via developments in key enabling technologies. In coping with worsening global climate and depleting energy resources, ITRI aims to develop renewable energy, biomass, green manufacturing, intelligent transportation, and disaster relief technologies. ITRI serves a dual role as a think tank and promoter of industrial development. To meet sustainability goals, ITRI is committed to developing innovative green energy and environmental technologies for a better future. Along with the research and development of technologies, ITRI also provides comprehensive industrial services. Leveraging its edge in patents and the professional assistance of Open Lab and Incubation Center, ITRI helps drive the development of emerging technologies, as well as promote service industry innovation, thereby increasing the industrial impact and economic value. ITRI also spares no effort in promoting research and development alliances and industrial clusters to enable upgrading of traditional industries and create added value for new products. Driving innovation and development is one of ITRI's primary objectives. It has become a model in commercializing technological research and development, with the international community taking note of its efforts. Since 2008, ITRI has been recognized by prestigious international awards, such as the R&D 100 Awards and the Wall Street Journal's Technology Innovation Awards. ITRI has also received the Innovation Challenge Award from U.S. Aviation Week, the Solar Industry Award, and the Display Component of the Year Award from the Society for Information Display. ITRI has branch offices in the Silicon Valley, Tokyo, Berlin, Moscow, and Eindhoven to pave the way for cooperation with globally renowned enterprises and research institutes. ITRI pursues an institution-to-institution approach to international cooperation, which has already attracted both Corning Incorporated and Oxford Instruments to set up R&D centers at ITRI. An innovation and incubation platform has been also established to strengthen the links between ITRI and the relevant organizations in the USA. In order to pursue sustainable development, eTree is endeavoring to build a green, low-carbon campus environment through green buildings and a smart grid, along with the promotion of a low-carbon culture and lifestyle, making eTree a leader in the promotion of eco-friendly research and development. Through technology applications and services, promotion of technology education, and corporate volunteerism, eTree has also contributed its technology for the betterment of society. eTree holds camps for underprivileged children to enable them to experience the wonders of technology and is involved in community-supported agriculture activities. Being one of the world's leading applied technology R&D institutions, eTree is committed to working with industry for innovating a better future.
I hope you are able to appreciate the kind of an impact one institution has made on Taiwan and Taiwan's economy. Look at this institution. This institution is working on very cutting edge research, converting that research into technology. From technology, it's building and helping new products, new solutions, new innovations, nurturing entrepreneurship, promoting entrepreneurship, for startups. Then it's partnering with the industry, doing social work. But very important thing that I can really was impressed with eTree is that it has able to build multi-billion dollars company like TSMC, which is one of the topmost number one chip design and manufacturing company in the world, which has remained at the cutting edge. But very interestingly, it also has created or nurtured CEOs for these companies. So one side, it is working on the research. On the other side, it is impacting the society, sustainability and overall economy of the nation. And that's the power of a research institutions that we have, which can catalyze this kind of development. And in this entire gamut of things that institution is doing, one important thing that remains at the center is IP and patents and technology and its commercialization and so on. So now the question that we have is that if one institution can change the economy of a nation, and what does this mean to India? So today, we keep talking, or we are into this we have a program, we have a mission to be self-reliant, Atmanirbhar Bharat. When we want to be Atmanirbhar Bharat, which is where we are saying that we cannot have incremental economic growth, but we need quantum jumps in the economic growth. We are talking about becoming a $5 trillion economy. We are trying to become a developed nation when India becomes 100 years after the independence. And if this has to happen, the technology becomes a very, very important and at the center of this entire self-reliant, to become a self-reliant India. When we say this, it's extremely important for us, as we saw in the case of Taiwan, that this entire technology, science, technology, innovation, entrepreneurships are critical, and IP plays a very, very important role in this to make this happen. Otherwise, it would have been a big challenge. So let me also talk about Previously, I spoke about one institution and its impact on the nation's economy and building the industry and impacting on the society. Let me talk about Professor Robert Langer of MIT. And this is important because Venture Center is planning to have a session and a talk by one of my heroes in science, Professor Robert Langer. We also call Bob Langer, on 20th January. My request to you is you must attend this particular session. So let me share, what made Professor Langer as one of the icons in science, in technology, in innovation, and in entrepreneurship. So, in fact, when I was visiting MIT, I really wanted to meet, my hero, or one of my heroes in science, Professor Bob Langer, but I couldn't because at that time he was not there in Boston. But after, when I was in MIT and later, I met Professor Jeff Karp. Jeff Karp is a professor at Harvard Medical School, and he's a student of Bob Langer. And I was asking him what makes him such a successful person. He's an institution in itself when it comes to his contribution to science and to technology and innovation. So these are the slides that Jeff shared with me, and I'm just sharing with you what makes Professor Langer such a great success in the science and research and technology. So look at the vision and philosophy of Professor Bob Langer's lab. His philosophy is to make a difference in the world through working on significant problems that face humanity. Look at the vision. He's saying that my lab wants to work on something which makes and solves some significant problems of humanity. And then in this process, his research funding is almost $10 million per year. At that time, I'm sure it must be now $15 million or $20 million. I don't know, but this is slightly older slide. So he has 1,100 publications, 45 Nature in Science. Sometimes getting one research paper in Nature and Science is such a difficulty. But more than that, what is interesting for us to know is that he has over 650 patents, 250 licensed technology. I was just reading announcement from NCL Venture Center where it says, I think 400 licensed technology, 40 spin-out companies. Look at one lab and the kind of impact it can make to not only the institution, but also to the ecosystem and also the economic development of the nation. So there is actually, if you, those who are listening to this, please, if possible, read a case study which is written by Harvard Business Review. So HBR has written a case study about Bob Langer. So and it's very well covers the entire the model, the approach and innovation that Bob Langer has made to reach to this particular stage of a success. So weekly, his secret is he's working with venture capitalists because that's the way you can commercialize your science. And then he works with medical doctors because this is where you can find some of the big problems and unmet needs. And he continues to interact with CEOs and founders of companies directly, indirectly, and so on. So now, why I'm sharing this is that if a scientist or a researcher has to work with the venture capitalists, startups, doctors, and other ecosystem partners, this can happen only when you have a right policy, IP policy, or in place. If it is not, believe me, this could have been a been a chaos in dealing with all the all the partnerships with industry, with startups, and other partners who are part of his research. So Bob Langer always says that science not for the sake of science, but rather for the sake of translation research. The moment we talk about translation research, IP becomes an extremely important component. For those who want to do science, and publish a paper and be done with that, I think perhaps IP may not play a very important role, but that is a biggest loss to the institution and to the nation if IP is not done, is not taken seriously. But for those who are looking into translation research, or those who are in the companies looking at technology, products, innovation, IP becomes an extremely important. And therefore, if you just go to MIT, MIT is a full, has a comprehensive research, a comprehensive documents about the IP policy. In fact, this is just one part of MIT's portal, but you can go to Technology Licensing Office, TLO, and you will see several policies, several documents around IP policy, IP management, technology management, technology transfer in its entirety. So what I'm trying to say is that the success or the possibility of making scientists like Bob Langer making such a big impact on the society, on the nation, is possible because there is a clarity about how this intellectual property is created, how this intellectual property is protected, and how this intellectual property is managed and monetized or commercialized. And therefore, having this policy becomes an extremely important for any institution, having that IP policy, and also tech transfer or technology transfer, either policy or a manual, is extremely important. So when I was talking about Taiwan, I gave an example of MIT. In India also, we have a very good success stories. Just where NCL Venture Center, the National Chemical Laboratory is a great example. What one institution can make an impact on the nation when we start looking at going beyond publication. So when Dr. Mashelkar took over as the director of NCL, he, in his first talk, he said to all his colleagues that that we need to move from a paradigm of publish or perish to a patent, publish, and prosper. And that was, by the way, 1st June of 1989. Even Indian economy was or had not opened up. So he's such a visionary that he could, understand the importance of IP and its relevance to the nation, to the industry, and to the society. Now, what happened, when he made this appeal? Then I think early 90s, there were a series of patents. If not this patent, perhaps whatever impact that I'm sharing may not have or would not have happened. Now, these series of patents, particularly from Dr. Shivram's group, he went on to become a director of NCL later. These 25 patents created such a big impact for India and also for NCL and CSIR. So these 25 patents led to $15 million of income at that time. Imagine having $15 million of licensing income from one set of patents or one set of technology in polycondensation of polycarbonates, and of course series of PhDs. And then what happens is a partnership with GE. And with this GE partnership, so GE came into India, I came to India from Netherlands to work in GE. Thanks to that visionary efforts of Dr. Mashelkar and also Dr. Shivram and NCL and CSR at that time. And that led to, thousands of companies, multinational companies coming to India and setting up their R&D center. Just imagine, the contribution of NCL if they would not have patented, if they would not have licensed this technology, unless GE, taken them, seriously, and then decided to come to India and set up R&D, and then what happens is a complete revolution in terms of setting up multinational companies coming and setting up R&D centers. And also that led to something very interesting. Dr. Mashurkar and I wrote an article where some of the companies, R&D companies, were based out of India. Now Indian entity is contributing as much as 28% of IP. These are all granted US patents. So 28% of US granted patents have originated from India and Indian inventors for novel, and similar to Symantec and many other companies. So that also shows that we as Indian talent, we are able to really create high quality inventions and also patents that are relevant to institution and companies, and also for the industry. So I will stop here and take a pause. I was just trying to give you my perspectives about why IP is very important, and then the role of IP and IP policy within the institution that basically facilitates the entire value chain from creation, from management, and then monetization of IP, which leads to several startups, which helps industry for their competitiveness, and eventually it helps a nation. In case if you have any questions on this, if you want me to take a pause and then go to the next part of my session.
Thank you, sir. So participants, you have any questions, you may type out or raise your hand so I can unmute you.
So if no questions, I think let me proceed.
Yes.
And I'm sure
Yeah.
Towards the end, we will have more questions and good deliberation on this topic. So now the next part of my talk is about if IP is so important. I'm sure, I think whatever I shared is not something very profound or very new. I'm sure all of you know about this. So now the next stage is, if this is so important, then how do I proceed? How do I approach in developing IP policy for my organization? And particularly here, I'm giving an example of academia and university, but also this is true in the context of large companies, small companies, and even for startups. So let me share not just the general practices that is documented in the literature. I thought, why not take a real example? So when I was working as a part of a World Bank project and advising universities in Bangladesh, so one of my effort was to develop a guideline for preparing IP policy for the university. So it's very interesting because when I entered into Bangladesh, and I realized that some of the Bangladesh universities are doing exceptionally good work. There are several centers of excellence in terms of research and technology. And World Bank was had some $200 million project called Higher Education Quality Enhancement Project. And under HECEP, university and professors were getting funded, decent funding, for something which has for the research work which has a relevance to the industry. But unfortunately, they did not have IP policy within the university. So my job was to write a book, I'm saying not a book, but write a document which gives professors or administrators within the university to write a IP policy. So this is a content of this particular report that I prepared as a part of this. Then I prepared another document as a part of this is, what should be the manual, operational manual for technology transfer, which I will not get into for today's session. So when I was writing this, so this is not a policy kind of a document, but it was about how do we write IP policy, how do we develop IP policy, which is relevant to that particular university in the context that they are living in. So this is something which can be used as a best practice or a guideline for anyone to write and prepare IP policy. So generally, or a major component of this IP policy is that is about, we need an introduction or a preamble of a policy document or any policy document, not only for IP policy. Then we should have a clarity about what are the objectives of this policy. And these objectives has to be in line with the needs and aspirations and goals and the scope of that particular institution. And then we should get into this, what is the coverage, what this IP policy or this particular policy covers. So that brings a lot of clarity that anyone who is reading this document, that will help that person, whether this is relevant to me or I'm covered or not, or what is, if I'm a student, whether whether this IP policy is applicable to me or not. So then, of course, because if the institutions IP is a new concept or something where there is not much understanding about intellectual property, we need to write about the intellectual property, give a brief description about intellectual property, so that this policy document becomes comprehensive and also complete. So there are no assumptions when it comes to when you read and understand the policy document. So the most important part of any policy document is about how are you going to manage your IP. Manage your IP right from identifying the inventions or IP, and then protecting it, then managing it, and then monetizing or commercializing it. So right from, we say cradle to grave, that entire value chain, we need to be able to manage that. To manage this, we need to have a governance structure, and right kind of a governance structure. Now, sometimes I've seen the policies where governance structure is not given or given towards the end. But for me, it was very important that let anyone who is reading this document know what is the governance structure, or what can be the governance structure that we can produce, because this was a document as a guideline document. So I said I will explain how one can have the governance model for the IP management. Then IP management in itself, then you can have the policies related to how the inventions are captured, how that gets disclosed, and what is that disclosure document should look like, and what information the scientist or a researcher should include, how this invention is evaluated, whether it will get protected or not protected? What is that decision matrix? What is it that key things that will get evaluated? And then, as a researcher, what kind of an assignments that I need to sign right at the beginning, the kind of authorization letters that I need to give to the IP cell of the university. Then what are the, ownership of this IP, who owns what is ownership for the university, what is the ownership to the third party, and when these ownerships will get affected, and so on. And then and the policy around that, and then the kind of ownership researchers will have, the confidentiality, non-confidentiality policy for the university. And then once we have this protection in place, then we have to do this commercialization. As a part of this, you need to have licensing and technology transfer. So what kind of a approach that institution would like to have for the licensing, and what is the policy for licensing, and then what kind of a revenue sharing if I'm a researcher and I have set of patents, if those patents get licensed. So what is the university policy for revenue sharing, and if there are some dispute resolutions, so what can where these resolutions can happen. This is a very, very bare minimum structure that we can have as a starting point when we start drafting the IP policy. But one can make it a very, very comprehensive IP policy. Like if you go to MIT's IP policy, it's a very well written and very, very comprehensive. But to start with, these are important headings that we need to take care. Then what are the responsibilities of the university, the faculty, staff, and students when it comes to entire value chain of IP. And then you can have these annexures about the governance, details of the governance, the agreements, disclosures, assignments, power of attorneys, and many other things. So whatever you want to share as a part of the policy as an annexure, so that I have an invention. Say if I had to submit that invention, I know what I should do. Where can I find my invention disclosure form? What is it that I need to fill in the invention disclosure? Whether I need to submit some prior art or not prior art, all those things, the guidelines will be given as a part of this if you want to create a template. So this is the report that I had prepared, and it was received really well. And then universities started actually preparing the IP policy. So always, it doesn't matter which institution you are in, whether you are a CSIR funded research or part of CSR lab or DST lab, or just an university, whether it's a deemed university or it's extremely important that we write the preamble, because the preamble brings a lot of clarity why this policy, what is the intent behind this policy, and this should also explain our aspirations and our goals and our future plans, so that it becomes very clear to a reader when this policy document is being read, and also its understanding and implementation. For example, I was in Bangladesh. I started saying that there are close to 37 public universities, 80 private universities, and I said there are several centers of excellence within universities, and more universities in Bangladesh are now moving towards research and innovation. And then it becomes important to have IP policy, but unfortunately there is no IP policy today, and therefore this particular document is written. Or in this case, if it's a policy document, you talk about, now we want to, the policy is for achieving these major goals of the institution. So now I said, in this case, I said to deal with this challenge, it is important for Bangladesh to develop and implement IP policy for universities that leads to innovation while providing opportunity to generate measurable returns on R&D investment. So your institution may have your own aspiration. Your institution may have may have very specific needs, or your institution may be working in a particular sector or a domain. So based on that, you set and write this preamble. And I can show you some of the examples how universities have written their preamble in India as well as in global universities. The next section of the IP policy should constitute what is this policy going to achieve? What are those objectives of this policy? And some institution may write in a short, some institution may write very, very comprehensively about, but it's very pertinent, very important that once I understand the context, once I understand why this policy document is prepared, then I should know, what are those, what this policy is going to achieve as a part of the practice of this implementation of this practice. So in this case, I had written that this policy, the goal is to promote scientific research and technology development that leads to new discoveries, new inventions and innovations from the faculty members and students, and that benefits to the public, industry, and nation. So that's the overarching objective of this particular policy for us. And what could be the objectives of the IP policy? I've just written a few bullet points, but in my booklet, I've given more. For example, why we need to do, what is the objective of these policies to promote translational research and innovation in the universities that leads to the creation of IP, to build the competencies within the university when it comes to spotting, identifying those inventions, generating and protecting and monitoring and sharing and transferring of IP. So that's one of the objectives one can have. And then this IP policy helps and facilitates licensing and technology transfer that is generated based on the research of the university. And then also recognize and reward researchers who create and transfer intellectual property to industry, government, and social organization, and many other objectives. So you can have these objectives clearly defined and written, well articulated as a part of the policy document. The third and very important component of this is, what is the coverage, what includes and what is included in this policy, what is excluded in the policy. So in this case, this IP policy covers all the rights related to intellectual property. I'm using all rights, including patents, industrial design, trademark, copyright, trade secret, and so on. And this may differ in different organizations and different institutions, but make it very clear that your policy is covered, or what is included and what is excluded from the policy. And then these policies enforceable on all persons, such as you are using, like professors, scientists, students, visiting faculty, and all university staff. Now, all the people who are working in the university, we can, instead of individually naming them, then you can collectively say researchers. Now you can refer everywhere that this policy is for researchers, and who are researchers? These are the researchers who may be professors, who may be students, and other things. Then you also say whether it covers visitors who are full-time, part-time, and project. Even for students, in fact, you can have there are certain policies where in some areas students are covered, but in some cases this policy may not be relevant, or the students are excluded from this policy. So make it very, very clear for a student that what is included and what is excluded, so that that everyone is aware of this policy. The fourth part or section of the IP policy can be that if, depending upon, suppose as an institution, if everyone is aware about intellectual property, its importance and different types and so on, we don't have to write this section. We just briefly write something. But if not, please ensure that you write this clearly, so that that if someone who is not aware about the intellectual property, and then that person reads this policy, which is whether it is online or when you are doing induction or when you are doing a session, awareness session, so it becomes very clear. So talk about what is intellectual property, then here I'm explaining what is industrial property, copyright, and so on, and then you can give explanation or give a brief description about each of these IPs like patents, trademarks, industrial or copyright, and many other things. This is the most important section, I would say, in the policy, how the policy is governed and managed. So here you will have several subsections, and you need to bring the clarity about how this policy is what is the governance structure for IP management, who is doing what, if there are different groups, who are these groups, what is their roles and responsibilities and obligations, and so on. For example, in this case, I made it very simple in the context of Bangladesh that there will be IP management cell. And here I said IP management cell should be created wherever there is no tech transfer office, because World Bank was also funding for a tech transfer office in select universities. When you have a tech transfer office, I guess Dr. Sanjay Bharadwaj is there. So he heads the tech transfer office. So he would be the responsible in ARCI on IP policy, tech transfer, and everything around this. So then, how this whole IP management cell will work and so on. So and what should constitute in this IP management cell. Then it's not just about a group that gets created to manage IP and implement the policy, but also that there will be, or generally there is always a committee which will take certain decisions. For example, there is an invention. So whether this invention will be filed or not filed, will it be filed in nationally, or whether all those decisions, the important decisions, will be taken by the committee. So then what are the roles what is the role of this particular committee? Who is going to head this committee? Who can be members of this committee? And then what kind of decisions they will take? So, for example, I created this IP steering committee. I mean, you can give different names based on your institutions and guidelines. So I said the importance of this IPSC is to assess, evaluate all the IP filed by the researchers for protection, maintenance, and commercialization. And IPSC shall be responsible to administer all decisions and issues related to IP policy and many other things, all the agreements that will be, exclusivity, non-exclusivity, and other things. So you decide how much IP cell will do or tech transfer office will do, and how much IP steering will take certain decision. So you can, write about the entire governance of a management. So in this case, I had created two major governance structure. One is decision making, one is execution. So IP management cell is going to do this, and this IP management cell within the institution will be supported and headed by, like in this case, I said IP officer, because in Bangladesh, the officer is generally used. So then I said, who can be part of this IP cell? So you need a legal advisor, paralegal, analyst, technology analyst, IP analyst. Similarly, who can be part of this IP steering committee? And I propose that Vice Chancellor, because in Bangladesh, Vice Chancellors are very, very active and they need to be involved in certain decisions. So the Vice Chancellor or the director of the institute, plus deans or other senior members can be part of this. So make it very clear as a part of your policy. Then the whole management, how this IP is managed within the institution. For example, how inventions are captured, how inventions are evaluated. This make it very clear in your policy document. So, like for example, inventions generated by the researcher at the university shall disclose to the IPMC in the form of an invention disclosure form and say that this is an annexure and countersigned by the respective heads. So like this, you can keep writing these policy and policy guidelines for the researchers so that they are aware that what they need to be done. So then I'm not going into the details because I'm going to share with you some very good resources where you can, you can go access all this information and use that information. So this particular session gives you some guidelines and practices which are very important and which should go into the IP policy, so that when you go to these resources, you are able to leverage those resources efficiently. Now, talk about how IP assessment and evaluation is or will be done. So, for example, in the case of Bangladesh, determine whether this IP is eligible to get a protection in Bangladesh, or is this something which can also go beyond Bangladesh. So this is important because laws of Bangladesh are very different. Still, they are not part of a TRIPS. So therefore, I had to write. But so that whether the assess, and in fact, I developed the entire assessment matrix for every invention, which I gave, put it in the annexure. So then, during the assessment, what could be the strategies for IP protection in Bangladesh and overseas, whether I should go for a provisional filing or a complete application to Bangladesh or to the WIPO, or directly set of applications to US and particular this thing. It can be also, we can write that this is something which is, if it is licensable and assignable, which means that it is something which is important to the university, important to the industry and nation, so it must be looked at. So you determine whether something. So I had created a set of assessment criteria, and one can use those assessment criteria and take a decision. And it's an objective decision. So towards the end of this booklet, I had given, how do you say cutoff? Everyone ranks, gives the marks, and then it will be objectively evaluated whether this is something that can go to the next step of protection or not. Then these assignments, so like for example, as a policy that researchers will or shall assign the rights of IP, which is generated from the resources of the institution. So then you can, you have to put these things very clearly that they should give authorization and also sign that the IP that is generated from the university resources can be assigned to the university and so on. So this can also happen as a part of your employment contract. So then see, when university will say that that university owns this IP, so make it very, very clear in this section that the IP ownership lies with the university when university provides specific tangible resources like labs, equipment, supplies, hardware, software, utilities, funding, and so on. So if there is a IP that gets generated from the resources of the university, then that IP will be owned by the university. And if the IP gets created in a collaborative, in a partnership mode or a contract research, then it's extremely important that university cannot claim the ownership. That ownership, whether university will have the ownership or the company which is funding for this, that is determined by the provisions and contract agreement between the university and third party. So make it very, very clear that what is owned by university and what is not owned by the. And the last one is universities shall retain non-exclusive, free, irrevocable license to use the IP generated at the university for teaching and research activities. So this will help you to use university IP for your teaching and research. Otherwise, otherwise you'll have to go through then licensing and other processes. So make these things very, very clear in your policy. Now, third-party ownership, you're very, very clear, as I was sharing earlier, that the ownership of the IP depends upon the provisions of the contract. So the contract that you have signed with the third party, that decides who owns the IP or who has the first right of refusal, who is going to prosecute IP, and who is going to license that IP. Then, therefore, we always, so I'm not getting deeper into this, then we can have foreground IP, and all kinds of things that will have after the background and foreground IP, and there are many different ways we can look at. And each of these, there should be a clarity about who owns what. And I have seen when I was signing agreements with, say, as a industry professional, when we were doing the research project or technology projects with the academic institutions, and if it is a large project and it's a blanket agreement, then what we used to do is we have a agreement plus we have a committee of members from both institution and the company. If there are certain issues that needs to be resolved, then that committee will take the decision. Thing. So all those things you can be part. You can prepare, or you can write it in your policy documents. So now the question is, in case if there is no such agreement between third party and the university, then you say that the ownership of IP is retained at the university to start with, unless there is a conflict or a. Then comes, once we have IP is protected, then comes is, then how do we, what is policy for our licensing and technology transfer? So now who will find potential licensees where this thing, and what are the policies related to confidentiality and many other things. And these are some of the things that you can put it in under this section. So you can say that university may seek assistance or entrust responsibility for licensing or technology transfer to outside agencies after entering into specific agreement. So what policy is saying that it is not just the researcher who can see the potential opportunity for licensing, or it is not just the tech transfer office or IP cell will look at those potential opportunities, but university can also engage another external agency when it comes to licensing. So if you can bring these things into the policy document, it brings a lot of clarity to execute and effectively run. If there are ambiguities, if these ambiguities remain, then it becomes more difficult, because then it gets into committees and director and all kinds of complexities get involved into this. Now, this is very important now that, okay, if licensing happens, So how much a researcher should get, the whatever revenues I'm saying or profits that you get generated from the licensing and tech transfer. So how much, because one of the important thing about encouragement of IP and tech transfer or innovation and technology is that researcher is incentivized, encouraged to keep looking at research which is relevant to industry, which can be translated and so on. So I had given a guideline that, but this is not a, each university can have its own decision, how much university should get and how much researcher should get. In this case, I'd say the university will get 60%, researcher will get 40%. But you can, I've seen certain policies where researcher first time it gets 60%, next 40%, next 30%. So you can devise something which is acceptable, more agreeable to as many researcher and works in the university setup. Now you can also write. In fact, I'm not sharing every detail of my report. So like now that suppose, let's say that 60% of the profits, after taking care of PTO office and many other expenses. So this is your profit. And this 60%, what is the policy to distribute this 60% of money within the university? So this money can go to the, say, your tech transfer office for their own operations. Another thing, it can go to department, like, different departments can have their own share, and then some part will be retained in the university. So now you can refer, okay, this is what the percentage distribution within the university. Now for researcher, have a clarity about how this money is distributed when you have multiple inventors. So if I have 4 inventors as a part of this, then how this 40% gets distributed. So you can go deeper and put it in the policy as much as possible. Anything that is not easy to resolve, then of course you have an IP steering committee which will take a decision. So this is about sharing of, I have more subsections. I'm not, because of the time, I'm not sharing each and everything, but I just wanted to share some important provisions in the policy. Then you can have all the annexures, like go deeper into how IP management cell and steering committee will work, what are the roles and responsibilities and so on. What are the different research agreements we should, the researcher should know, whether it's a confidentiality or it's a materials research agreement or it's a contract research, service research, all those research agreements that you can give as a guideline. But make sure that people just don't take this template and get it signed. So there is another process that is important to follow. So researchers know that these are the agreements need to be signed, but eventually it is, say, IP cell or technology transfer office will actually look each and every agreement, and it's endorsed by IP steering or director, and then it is signed. Then what should be the invention disclosure form? So what are the different sections and headings that are information that you want to collect? What are the deed for assignment, power of attorney, then confidentiality undertaking and non-disclosure, how the assessment is done, and so on. And you can go on adding more and more annexures so that it becomes very clear to the user of this policy. And this is just the last section. So if you go to WIPO has a rich repository of resources when it comes to drafting IP policy for universities. So there are several documents, reports, FAQs, Q&As, and all those things when it comes to why and what and how IP policy should be developed as a part. Then there is a toolkit for IP policies. There are templates and guidelines and checklists and so on that you can access as a part of WIPO's resource. And very interestingly, there is also a database of all IP policies from institutions across the world. So like I was looking at India, so there are I think 14 universities in India have uploaded their IP policy into this. So now you can look at, suppose you want to see how IP policies drafted in the institutions, leading institutions in the world like MIT, Stanford, and so on. Then look at how these things are drafted in, say, South Korea, Australia, or India, and other things. So this is a great tool and database that you can leverage while you are drafting your IP policy. So this is also very interesting, very, very powerful and very comprehensive and detailed resource. I'm sure many of you may know, but this is a resource that will give you, again, very detailed description and explanation about like, complete, innovation, IP management, then policy for innovation, the toolbox for IP, institutional policies and strategies. It's a very, very well researched and written documents. And how to establish technology transfer office. What are those contracts and agreements to support partnerships? You can actually take those as a guiding templates for you when it comes to your execution of IP matters and many other things. So this is another very good resource that exists. They have case studies and many other things that you can use. And just to conclude, see, this is something which in my talks I always refer this powerful quote. This is a quote from American Chemical Society's report on innovation, chemistry, and jobs. And the quote says that if universities are indifferent to what society needs, society may reciprocate that indifference. It's a very, very powerful quote for all of us to know. And because the moment as an institution, we look at society and needs of the society. Here, I'm saying needs of industry, needs of public and social institutions. Then it is very, very important for universities to look at research in a very, very different way. Research that can benefit to the society, to the industry, and if that is what is the something that universities must do, then IP becomes a very, very important vehicle, important tool to make something very seamless and that will benefit the nation, the industry, and economic and social development of this. So I will stop here, and I know we are almost 1.5 hours, so let's have a
thank you, Dr. Chinsure. I think talking upon a topic such as IP policies and how to draft, it is very vast topic, but you have really summarized it very well. So Mr. Somnath he wants to ask you a question, so I have just asked him to unmute himself. Mr.
Hello.
Somnath?
Yes. Hello, everyone, and hello,
Yes.
Arvind sir. It was a very nice insight, and really, we didn't know many of the things. So I just wanted to ask a question. It is a tricky one. Like many of the times, the university or the institutes, they promote IP things out of our research. But then generally, when we have to do something on level of and to getting an IP, it does take some time. It takes a lot of time to repeat the experiment and do many more things, because finally, anyway, I always wanted that my technology should get commercialized. It should not just lay waited. But in this process, actually, I have almost spent many more years that the university had allowed me. So I am in a very precarious position of getting my PhD now. So though I'm getting my IPs, but I don't know whether I will get my degree or not. So in those scenario, I think the institute or the overall university should also have some policy wherein if some research they think that an IP could be generated out of it, then maybe some extra time or on those lines, some extra help the student should get. So can you just elaborate a little bit, or you just can you say, do you agree with which I have said? Yeah, thank you very much, sir.
So Somnath, definitely I agree with you, because sometimes there is a perception or a reality that you have put in so much of efforts for your research, and now it's a time for you to write your thesis and get that degree. And in this process, there has to be clear guidelines, even if not a policy, but there has to be a clear guideline that that in this situation, the students' research or PhD will not get delayed. And there are many ways you can do, Somnath, because if you look at of course, Dr. Sanjay Bharadwaj, I guess he's here. I think he can also add to what I'm saying, is that we don't need to wait till the patent is completely drafted and filed. So simple approach we can take is, can we just write a provisional application? Once there is a provisional application, then you can just go ahead with your thesis. And in the meantime, so within a year, then the full application can happen, and then the decision can be made whether it will, can be filed abroad or different geographies or PTC and all kinds of things. So I agree. As a policy, there has to be clarity to the student that student will not get delayed. The important purpose for which student is here to get his or her PhD degree. Does that answer? No?
Sir, a little bit I would like to add, like what happened by the time I was actually filing my patent, because I was unable to publish research papers. So
Right.
the problem with the university was, until you have the research papers, we would
Correct.
not let you have the viva. So it was all struck together. They wanted patent. I also wanted the patent, but had to have this patent, I cannot publish. If
Yeah.
I can't publish on time, they will not give me a degree. So they want the patent also out of me, that is the best research out of a student, but they would not give me any time so that the patent gets granted, or at least like filed, so that after that I start giving my research papers. So it's like a two-way sword for me. So getting a patent, it has actually affected my PhD. So I don't know how.
The general guideline, thumb rule I'm saying, see, you file provisional application, which will take 2-3 weeks, maximum 1 month. Again, it depends upon institution and their capacity and other thing. And next day you submit a research paper. So it's just the day you file a provisional application, full application. So immediately in a day or 2 days, you can always go for a research. So that will not delay the process, I would say. Maximum it can delay is a couple of weeks. But it all depends upon institution to institution and their processes, their policies, and particularly in Indian context, it becomes perhaps more challenging. But what you are saying should not happen. That you
Unfortunately, yes, sir. Unfortunately, the patent attorney who was actually has been assigned through our institute, he almost takes a year to at least file that patent. For the first time when we have contacted him, and at the filing of the patent, it almost took a year. So that is some of the challenges. And I think, sir, in near future, whenever a guide or any institute thinks that they will have more patent, they should have planned it or before that.
Yes.
Within a year it will happen and all. But after that, when they start telling all these things, it becomes a big pressure for the student, financially also and mentally also. So I think this context also, Indian patent scenario will improve in Indian universities. Yeah,
I agree.
Thank you very much, sir.
I agree. So,
Good
Sanjay,
afternoon.
yeah.
Good
So,
afternoon, Dr. Arvind. Good afternoon. Can I add to, because thank you for asking my opinion. I think I agree with Dr. Arvind's opinion that I think having a provisional will help in such case, what Mr. Somnath is asking. and he'll get some time first he has filed a provisional, then he can publish, and then he can file complete specifications. I think that's the right way. Probably it'll help him.
Yes. And quick, some of the, Vidula, I'm just reading some of the comments. So the first,
so I was about to read it out to you. Yes.
So one is, I'm reading this. Can you kindly share the article written by Bob Langer? Just do a Google search on Professor Robert Langer and HBR case study. Actually, these case studies cannot be accessed. But I think in his case, there are many people who have uploaded a copy of this case study. Now, I'm not saying this is right or wrong, but that case study you can access directly through HBR or whatever you think appropriate as per your institution policy. And second thing is, there are several articles written on Professor Robert Langer. So you please just do the Google, and believe me, there's so much of inspirational thing that you can find from his experience. He's an extraordinary person, and he's a role model. So, my association with some Nobel laureates and others, I mean, I generally talk about it during my talks, but particularly in this talk, I thought I will just refer to Professor Bob Langer. Now, there is a next question.
Can I add?
Yeah.
Vidula?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so to all participants, I am Vinita. So for information of all participants, Venture Center is very shortly going to arrange a talk of Professor Langer, and we request you to attend the same. It's a great golden opportunity for people who are in technology area.
Yes. And Vinita, I took his case because Venture Center is doing the session on 20th.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yes.
And,
one more point regarding this provisional filing, you can correct Dr. Chinchore. So can we, can some institute add in their policy regarding quick filing and mentioning about the provisional to save the time for researchers or getting freedom to publish their things as quickly as possible? Is that so? Like strategy of filing? Can we write?
I see when IP steering committee makes certain decisions. So IP steering committee will have those guidelines.
Yeah.
Because when it should be filed, because suppose I work for IP Cell and I submit that invention disclosure for that committee to make an assessment. So I bring this out very clearly that this is something which is at this stage, and IP Cell can even give a recommendation that this should be. Yeah. So those things I think can go into the annexure or when it comes to the governance as a guideline to the. So sometimes I have seen that we built an entire flow chart. So what happens when something for a particular situation? So that also brings a lot of clarity to readers, researchers, and other things.
Okay. Thank you very much. This is good suggestion. Yeah.
And I see Gayatri saying, "Sir, how can I strive to move away from the publish or a perish cycle?" This is something which is very, very complex, but very, very important point that we need to look at this. Sometimes I feel that it is perhaps we are not aware. Sometimes the system demands the research papers either for a promotion or for that matter, funding and many other things. So there is always a rush. And sometimes, as a peer, there is a pressure, right? You want to be the first to publish in some good journal and so on. I know this is a challenge, but I think there are many institutions and researchers that have been able to handle this so that, you patent, as we were discussing, you just file something provisional or full and next day you publish so that things don't get delayed. But what is most important, Somnath was also telling, it's very important that we plan in advance. So sometimes what happens is by the time we submit, by the time we write our invention disclosure or even to decide whether we are going to have a patent or not. So that further delays. So one way to do this is that as a researcher, when I see that there is an interesting potential thing, I get involved with IP team well in advance, so that they can also help you in prior art research and other things that will also help you to do your research and our next experiments properly. But this is a very, very important point that we need to break the cycle. If, as a nation, we want to, move to the next stage. Then it says, so hello, sir. Can you consider?
So there is a
Mhm.
there's a question from JNTAUH. I don't know, they've not displayed the name. How about if a key research student or a scholar drops off between and somewhere continues with the same proposal without informing to the previous institute while the patent application and examination process, or what to protect the right and share of royalty? What remedy do you suggest for this?
So can you, let me just, Vidula, correct me if I understood the question. So someone leaves in between?
Yes,
right?
yes. So that is
project?
what yeah. And then they
And after
continue with the same proposal at some other institute, and their
Uh-huh.
patent is still not being granted. It is in the examination process. So in
Correct.
this case, what will be the strategy in terms of royalty sharing is what I think they want to know.
First of all, first of all, if we have a right diligence in maintaining the kind of work that we are doing in the institution or as a part of a project, that, of course, earlier we used to have a lab notebook. Today, we don't have a lab notebooks, only to get that first to file in US. But if we have that diligence in place or a documentation that this research or this particular work is being done in this institution, either through emails or some documentation, even the other person goes and writes a proposal and continues to work and tries to file a patent, he will not get that patent, because your patent will be the first patent to get filed, so the others cannot file. And if, say, for example, the other person is filed a patent, you have always the pre-grant and post-grant opposition that you can do. Of course, we can go very specific on this particular case, but since it's a little bit legal, I would say that there are certain remedies that exist to resolve this particular issue.
Yes, I think the other question which Gayatri has posted, this is more relevant to patents. So would you like to take it up, Dr. Chinzure? She wants to know whether they have this is one startup, they're launching a product in the US,
Yes.
which he wants to patent. Will it be
Yes.
okay if he goes for an Indian patent, or should he go for a US patent? So this is more, I think, into patent filing that they would like to know.
Correct. I think we need to know things in entirety before giving some kind of opinion. So there are several ways we can interpret this. Suppose you have a, say, PCT or provisional application that can go into the PCT filed route, then you can always go take your product to US. Still, it's safer. So there are many things that we need to know before we should, or I should, give a legal opinion, not just with the limited information, because
yes, that's right. So Dr. Chinzure, Mr. Somnath wants to ask you one more question. I think we can take this up if you're having time, so I'll permit him to unmute himself.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Mr. Somnath?
Hello,
you
sir.
can unmute yourself.
Yes, I have unmuted. One last question, Arvind sir. I just wanted to ask that now whenever we are talking to somebody for a third party for licensing our technology, what are the procedures wherein we can fix on the cost? Like what could be the cost of the technology transfer and all that?
So it's a big topic. I know, Dr. Steve. He's going to give a talk. I was just going through the, just beginning of this session. So there were a lot of announcements from this thing. So he will be able to tell you how to value the IP and then.
Yes. So Mr. Somnath, I just can add to
that
Dr.
answers my
Chinzure's.
question. Yes. Thank you.
Yes, so next week could be, if you are interested, we will be posting out this also, IP valuation and technology transfer details.
Yes.
So that is coming up in the next week.
And there are lots
And
of ifs and buts, Somnath, because, I mean, Sanjay and I, we work together. So there are several considerations, need to be taken when it comes to the pricing, whether it is one time, royalty, what percentage, how it's a multiple variable, and you have to take this conscious decision to do this. But maybe we can have a separate conversation on this. So
yes. So I think with this we come to end of our session, Dr. Chinsuri, and it was a very crisp and a very informative talk on IP policies. So I think there are n number of things that we need to look when we actually draft an IP policy, though it looks very simple as point of headers, when we look into it. Okay, just one question from my end. What is your opinion? Like, I mean, in an IP policy, should also include a tech transfer related terms, or should a tech transfer policy be different than an IP policy?
So it all depends upon institution, whether you want to include certain things as a part of a tech transfer. So the thumb rule, Vidula, is that as an institution, if we are at an early stage of establishing IP as a part of a culture, and then taking that IP to protection and commercialization, then let this be a very simple one policy document. But for example, like institutions like MIT and others, what they will have is they will have multiple documents related to this. So, but at the beginning, it is better to have one policy instead of multiple policies, because sometimes there can be miscommunication and so on. So I was writing one policy, but what we always do is, suppose I'm writing a IP policy, and then there is something that we have in technology transfer. So you refer that document into the your policy. So that these are linked, so that people don't miss out certain things.
Certain points, yes. Okay, so if there are no more questions from the participants, I think we can close here. There is one feedback link which I have posted in the chat box. So I request all the participants who are there to please give your feedback. It helps us to improve and find out new topics for our coming up sessions. With this now, Dr. Chinsuri, I would like to thank you on behalf of the TechX team and Venture Center for taking out time and giving us such an informative talk. So in the future, we can plan few more talks on different more topics, which could be of interest to you as well as the audience. So you can suggest few, and we're very happy to host you for the same. So thank you, Dr. Chinsuri. Thank you all the participants.
Thanks a lot. So it's a pleasure.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.